Hey everyone, today we are going to learn about a very interesting topic. Have you guys watched Kung Fu Panda or Star Wars? You must have seen Zen masters healing some hurt people just by channeling energy through their bodies and transferring it to them. So, don't you think such a magical power should exist in our mortal world? Well, it does. Yes, such a type of healing does exist. It is called as Reiki. Reiki is a process of healing in which the practitioner transfers this universal energy to the patient to encourage emotional or physical healing. So, today we are going to navigate to an interesting story of how the concept of Reiki was rediscovered. Dr. Mikao Usui was born in Japan on 19th of August 1865 and left this world on 9th of March 1926. He was the promoter of a spiritual practice called as Reiki, used as an alternative therapy to treat physical, emotional, and mental diseases. Dr. Mikao Usui was Japanese by birth, and he worked as a dean in the theology college where he taught students various spiritual topics. One fine day, a student probed him about healing. Sir, what is healing? Dr. Usui replied. The magic touch we feel when our parents or teachers bless us is healing. The student answered, Okay, we get this by chance. What if we want to access this energy by our own choice at any given time? Didn't Jesus perform so many miracles by healing so many people merely by his healing touch? Can we also learn it, sir? How can we heal others? Dr. Usui said, I don't know. This question laid the foundation stone for the rediscovery of Reiki. Upon hearing this question, Dr. Usui felt blank. He did not have the answer to this question. This moment of history gave rise to a quest on which Dr. Usui determined to solve this question. He began his journey to uncover the secrets of healing or the universal cosmic energy. His quest made him travel to so many countries. Dr. Mikausui traveled to northern India to the Himalayas, and he asked this question to many. Can we find an answer to my quest? How can I get this healing energy in my palms? The local monks did not know the answer. Sir, we are really sorry, we do not know about it. But we are sure, if you meet our chief monk, he may be aware of this. Hope you can find an answer then. Dr. Usui presented his question sincerely to the head monk. Head monk then tried to find an ancient scripture. He rummaged through the scripts. This scripture is bound to contain this piece of knowledge. The healing touch does exist. Buddha could heal. Jesus could heal. And this is proven. So there is no doubt that we can heal people with energy through our palms. You may read through this ancient Sanskrit scripture and attain this wisdom. Dr. Usui stayed in the monastery for a while and had to learn applied Sanskrit to understand the scripture to get closer to the solution. Even if it was a severe path, Dr. Usui was determined to crack this puzzle and eventually realize the existence of such energy that could heal ourselves and others. He read and understood the scripture, but did not know how to apply that knowledge. This dilemma made him travel back to Japan. He decided one fine day to go to Mount Kyoto, where he meditated upon this thought. He kept a stone beside him each day to keep count of the days that passed by. For the first 20 days, nothing happened. He did not know how to gain this hidden wisdom, but he believed and kept meditating. On the 21st day, something happened. He felt that a golden ball of light is coming towards him at a great speed, and it will hit him with such force that he may die. But he did not resist. He allowed it to pass and welcomed it. As the ball of light struck him, he became unconscious. In this state, he could see some symbols floating by in golden white light and couldn't help himself but wake up. After this transcendental incident, he came running down the hill, bouncing with joy. Wow! I found it! I found it! Suddenly, he stepped on a sharp stone and hurt his toe and began to bleed. Then he thought to himself, let me try to heal it. He sat down and held his toe with his palms covered around the toes lightly. The bleeding stopped immediately, and he felt at ease. The pain disappeared. This was the first evidence that he had gained something within him, and in fact, he had acquired the healing energy. Yay! It works! And I do not feel the pain anymore. Reaching further downhill, he noticed a restaurant, and since he was on fast for 21 days, he was starving and wanted something to eat. The owners replied, please do come in, sir. It looks like you are hungry. What would you like to order? Dr. Usui replied, I want to order a full meal. The owner said, sure, sir. Let me just warn you that eating a full meal after starving for so many days will not be a wise choice. Dr. Usui insisted, I will have a full meal, thanks. The owner said, as you please, sir. Dr. Usui ate to his heart's content and felt comfortable. The owner said, it is indeed a surprise, sir, that you are at ease after consuming a full meal after your retreat. This was the second evidence that the healing energy had dawned upon Dr. Usui. During his time in the restaurant, he noticed the grandchild of the owner was crying. Dr. Usui said, come here, my dear child. What is it that troubles you? The child said, my tooth is aching. I can't bear the pain. Dr. Usui placed his palms on her cheeks. He felt that the child was receiving the energy very nicely. The child said, oh wow, there is some magic in your hands. I cannot feel the pain anymore. She ran to her grandpa and yelled, this uncle has some magic in his hands. I feel good. This was the third miracle that Dr. Usui observed, and this confirmed that now he did possess the healing touch in his hands, and he can now heal the world. This sequence of events made him confident, and he began his journey as a Reiki healer. He took a red lantern and went out to call out to the people of Japan. Come one, come all. Let me give you all that you need. Health, wealth, or happiness. But no one went to him thinking him to be a madman. Dr. Usui felt very disappointed. Then he went to the slums of Kyoto and started treating beggars to lead a better life. He spent 7 years in the slums treating many folks and attuned ordinary people with this healing energy. From this time onwards, this healing energy was referred to as Rei, that is universal, and Ki, that is life force of or energy. Hence it was named Reiki. However, soon after, he noticed that the same individuals he had healed and cured in the past returned to him. He asked one person, I have taught you the greatest miracle of life. Why didn't you start a new life over? The beggar replied, O wise one, I understand. But it was much easier to beg than shoulder the responsibility to start over. The joy of begging is more than the pleasure to earn. This was the time Dr. Usui felt that he had made a grave mistake. But he came back to his senses and tapped himself on the shoulder and said, "No problem. This was my mistake, and I should correct it." He took responsibility for his mistake and developed the Reiki principles. For Dr. Usui, Reiki was a spiritual practice, an opportunity for each person to awaken their true nature. Dr. Chujiro Hayashi was a naval officer and a surgeon, and he was one of the 21 teacher students of Dr. Mikao Usui. Dr. Usui passed away in March 1926. Dr. Hayashi opened a Reiki clinic and started spreading Reiki knowledge. He had developed a new Reiki style which had the same energy and lineage as Usui Reiki. Many of the original techniques Usui Reiki's format aspects are also taught today, namely the hand positions, the science-based practices held within Reiki, and Usui Reiju, that is, conducting an attunement or initiating a student into Reiki. The fame and popularity of Dr. Hayashi's clinic spread like wildfire through Japan, and he was quite successful at healing many people who suffered and were chronic. Finally, the Reiki that we know today was here. The emphasis was on healing rather than personal development. After World War II, the US government won control over Japan and banned all Eastern healing methods. They declared Western medicine as the only choice. The organization members of Usui Sensei decided to find a way to continue the practice of Reiki. Some other healing groups, such as the acupuncturists, could get a license to practice, but Reiki healers chose not to go through this process. To continue to practice Reiki, they decided to become a secret society and practice only among themselves and not talk about Reiki to anyone outside their organization. This made it difficult for anyone to learn Reiki, including the Japanese. If someone in Japan wanted to learn Reiki after the war, he or she had to travel to US to learn or had to learn from a Western Reiki teacher who was trained in Japan. Thus, even now, most Reiki practiced in Japan is a combination of Western and Japanese Reiki. Mrs. Hawayo Takata was a Hawaiian woman of Japanese descent born in 1900. After her husband and sister died, Mrs. Takata became very sick. She decided to go to Japan looking for a doctor who could operate and get her to recovery. She had several illnesses like gallstones, appendicitis, tumor, etc. At the onset of the operation, Mrs. Hawayo Takata said, "Doctor, I'm getting an intuition that I should not opt for the surgical procedure. There is a part within me which thinks I can heal naturally. Is there an alternative way to this surgery, sir?" The doctor replied, "I can refer you to one Dr. Hayashi who practices alternative healing therapy. You can give it a try." Mrs. Hawayo Takata thanked the doctor. Soon Mrs. Takata began to receive regular weekly treatments. Over several weeks, her health improved drastically. She was amazed and requested Dr. Hayashi to teach her how to transmit Reiki energies to others, to which the doctor agreed. He decided to teach her Reiki 1 and 2, and she studied with him from 1936 to 1938. Mrs. Takata is one of the 13 teacher students of Dr. Hayashi Chujiro, and she was the first Reiki master to bring Dr. Hayashi's teaching to the West. 2 years later, Mrs. Takata convinced Dr. Hayashi to visit her in Hawaii to check on her Reiki clinic, where she was initiated into the 3rd degree. "Can you initiate me into the 3rd degree?" Dr. Hayashi said, "I will be glad to." From then on, Mrs. Takata continued to give treatments and began teaching Reiki level 1 and level 2 to her students. In the 1970s, she began teacher training for other Reiki masters. For over 40 years, she used storytelling to teach people about Reiki and its history. By 1980, Mrs. Takata had trained 22 Reiki masters. From these teachers, Reiki has mainly spread throughout the world, and it is by Mrs. Takata's blessings that we are learning Reiki today.